All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most persistent headaches in the tech world, IT modernization. It's something you have to do, but it's often a really painful process. So, what if you could use generative AI to just untangle all of that complexity? Well, we're going to dive into a new service from AWS that's trying to do exactly that. I mean, does this question hit a little close to home? For so many companies, the answer is a big yes. You've got these systems that are absolutely critical to your business. They've been running for years, maybe decades. But now they feel more like an anchor, right? They're slowing you down, stopping you from innovating, and just making it so hard to keep up. You know you need to change, but the big question is, where on earth do you even start? And that's where you enter what I like to call the modernization maze. These projects, they always start with such a clear, simple goal. But before you know it, you're just lost in this labyrinth of technical debt, weird hidden dependencies, and all sorts of problems you never saw coming. Yeah, this is where things get really tough. It becomes this massive exercise in, digital archaeology. You're sifting through these brittle, old systems with basically zero documentation. The planning meetings just go on, the costs start to creep up, and you're constantly worried that you're going to break something super important. Honestly, it just burns out your best people. Okay, but what if you didn't have to go into that maze alone? What if you had a guide, an expert co-pilot really, that could do all the heavy lifting, see all the complex paths, and just navigate you straight to the finish line? Well, this is where the story starts to get interesting. Say hello to AWS Transform. Now pay close attention to that phrase, Agent AI Experience. That's the key here. Agentic means this isn't just some passive tool you point at a problem. Nope. This is an active AI assistant. It can reason, it can plan, and it can actually execute complex tasks, working right there alongside your team. And this completely changes the game. The whole idea is to offload all that super labor-intensive stuff, the discovery, the code analysis, the planning, to these specialized AI agents. And what does that do? It frees up your engineers to do what you actually hired them for, building cool new things and creating value, not just untangling code from 20 years ago. So a good way to think about it is like this. Imagine you have an on-demand team of AI experts. You've got your mainframe specialist, your .NET specialist, your VMware specialist, all of them with this deep knowledge already baked in. And you get to collaborate with all of them through one single unified place to get the job done. Pretty cool, right? So what can this AI copilot actually do for you? Let's break it down and look at 4 core missions that it's built to handle. First up is migration assessment. You know how this usually goes, right? It's this painful game of guesswork and endless spreadsheets. Well, Transform wants to completely change that. It takes you from all that manual estimation and uncertainty to a solid, data-driven, AI-powered business case. And the key is what you get out of it. This isn't just theory. You give it data about your current systems, and it gives you back concrete, actionable stuff. I'm talking about accurate cost estimates, where you can find savings, and it'll even recommend the best EC2 cloud servers for your needs. It'll even look at your software licenses to see if you can bring them with you to the cloud. All right, next up, and this one is huge, mainframe modernization. Yeah, we're talking about taking those giant monolithic COBOL applications, the kind that are still the absolute bedrock of industries like banking and insurance, and turning them into modern cloud-native Java services running on AWS. This is, without a doubt, one of the hardest modernization tasks out there. The AI agent for this is just incredibly smart. It goes deep into the legacy code, the COBOL, the JCL, all of it. It figures out what the core business logic is, the secret sauce that makes your business run, and it makes sure that logic is perfectly preserved. Then, it automatically refactors it into clean, modern Java. And get this, it even generates the technical documentation you've been wishing you had for years. Okay, mission number 3 is a classic cloud migration journey, getting those on-premises VMware workloads into the cloud. But instead of just a basic lift and shift, Transform helps you rehost them so they run as native, fully optimized Amazon EC2 instances. So here, the AI does all that tedious discovery work, mapping out your entire VMware setup and figuring out how everything is connected. Then it does something really clever. It intelligently groups your applications into logical migration waves to make the move smoother. It even translates your complex on-prem network setup into a modern Amazon VPC, which is kind of like your own private, secure slice of the AWS cloud. And finally, for the huge community of Microsoft developers out there, we have .NET modernization. This is all about taking those older apps built on the Windows-only .NET framework and transforming them into modern, cross-platform .NET that can run anywhere, including on Linux in the cloud. And what's great is that this is designed to fit right into a developer's existing workflow. The AI analyzes the code, automates that often painful conversion process, and plugs directly into your source control, like GitHub. It'll even use your existing unit tests to help prove that the newly transformed app still works exactly as it should. Now, when you hear about an AI that can plan and execute all these things, a big question probably pops into your head. Wait a minute, who's actually in charge here? Am I just handing the keys to the kingdom over to a machine? Well, the answer is a very clear no, and the whole process is designed to make sure you're always in the driver's seat. See, this is a true collaboration. You're always the one leading. You start by setting up a workspace for your project. Then you just tell the AI what you want to do in plain English, something like modernize my mainframe payment app to Java. You securely connect it to your code or servers, and then the partnership really begins. The AI proposes a plan, and your team gets to review it, give feedback, and ultimately approve it. This whole concept is called the human-in-the-loop model. The AI is your co-pilot. It's there to do the really intensive analysis and all the repetitive grunt work. But you, the human expert with the business context, you're the one making every single critical decision along the way. And this control is actually built right into the system with permissions. So, for example, standard day-to-day actions can be approved by more junior members of the team. But for the really critical stuff, we're talking deploying to production or merging code into your main branch, those actions can only be approved by senior people with specific approver or admin roles. It's a built-in safety net to make sure nothing happens without the right eyes on it. So when you pull this all together, what does it really mean? What does the future of these big, complex IT projects actually look like? I think this quote from the documentation just nails it. It's really about shifting where your human potential is focused. If you can let an AI handle the messy, complicated parts of modernization, you unlock your team's time and brainpower to focus on what actually moves the business forward: innovation. And that really brings us to the final and, I think, most exciting question of all. If that whole modernization maze is no longer your biggest problem, if that huge burden is lifted by an AI copilot, what amazing things will you build next?